What if I told you there was an incredibly popular word in the English language that 99.9% of the people who use it have absolutely no idea what it actually means? Don't think so? It's this word, apocalypse. Now, some people say, Florida Maquis, it means the end of the world. It means when everything's going to fall apart. It's absolutely not what it means. Now, some of you out there who have read the Bible know exactly what I'm talking about. But, as we know, anybody who reads the Bible is way down here. You know, you got Peter Griffin, and then you got these people, and then you got this. Back when you could say this word, which I can't say here on YouTube. It's this word. It has nothing to do with the end of the world, and I can prove it. It's literally in the definition. Do you know what it actually means? It means this. Guys, how many of you out there have a wife or a girlfriend who said, honey, can you come help me apocalypse the spaghetti jar? It's exactly what it means. It is literally exactly what the word means. It means to take the lid off of something. But because of culture and because of popular Hollywood movies and just time, it has been completely mistranslated. And you can look this up. Apocalypse. The complete final destruction of the world. As in the biblical book of Revelation. But as we know, we can't read the Bible because that would make us below, the lowest of the low. An event involving destruction or damage on an awesome or catastrophic scale. But what does it actually really mean? Old English, apocalypsin. Old French and ecclesiastical Latin from Greek. Apocalypsis from apocalyptin, uncover, reveal. It literally means to pull the lid off something. It comes from the Greek word, which literally means to pull the lid off something. Truly. This is what apocalypse means. And this is what happens to language over time. The Bible says, I will confuse their language when he was talking about those trying to build the tower to heaven. I don't think that's ever stopped. There are words that we use that not very long ago meant something entirely different. We see images like this and we think, oh, post-apocalypse. And they make video games talking about how to survive post-apocalypse. See, the people that originally created the word would have absolutely no idea what you're talking about here. None whatsoever. It was a word meant to just mean pull the lid off something. Now, if that can get translated that badly, imagine what a language barrier could do when you're talking about two different languages, two different cultures, and then you add in time. This is 19 January 2023. Russian Orthodox Church issues apocalyptic warning. You see, if there was somebody from the past that came to the future and read this, a warning about taking the lid off of something, the Russian Orthodox Church issues a warning about taking the lids off of spaghetti sauce. What, is it going to explode? Is it going to stain your shirt? I mean, literally, they would have no idea what they were talking about because time has redefined this word. Now, we're going to get farther into that over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel because that is one of the ultimate psychological operations. I was a linguist in the military. And one thing that you learn after you've learned to literally translate one language to the other and speak, French as if it was English or Spanish as if it was French, you learn that words literally translated in different cultures don't mean the same thing. You can literally translate what somebody is saying in another culture, but to give the proper idea to the person in your culture, you've got to use different words. Even though it's not what they're saying, the two words don't mean the same thing to the different cultures. And we're going to cover this in our next video over at Patreon. It's only $1 per month. It's even less if you sign up for an entire year. You know, you guys have heard it. We talk about it over the last year. Fully refundable, no risk, gloves off at Vimeo. We can show images we can't show here. We can use language over there that we can't use here. Would love to have you guys there, and believe me, the more of you that would show up over there for $1 a month, the less I would have to worry about ads here on YouTube or the censorship. And we can talk about things that require a little bit of intelligence, require a little bit of the ability to think and not just follow. But would love to have you over there. God bless you if you can. Those of you who are already signed up over there, be prepared next 24 to 48 hours. We're going to talk about this warning that came out of the Russian Orthodox Church. And believe me, those who read this in English aren't going to understand it, because they don't understand the difference between words in Russian and words in English. The same words don't mean the same thing. This is not this. Post-apocalypse, meaning after you got the lid off the sauce. Apocalypse, to take the lid off of something. That's what the Greeks defined apocalypse as. If there was a stuck lid on something, you had to apocalypse it. Honey, can you help me apocalypse the spaghetti jar? That would make sense to them. To us, it wouldn't. But in today's video here, we're going to go the complete opposite direction of stupid. And I do mean stupid. I mean, I knew Fox was bad, but there's a level of stupid they've just hit. It was breathtaking when I read it. Quote, "We need help out here. Arizona farmer sounds the alarm on migrant surge." You ready for this? Contaminating crops. Alex Muller says he has to throw out produce when somebody enters his field. He says, "Well, Florida Maquis, that sounds perfectly reasonable. What if somebody does their business on..." Really? Really? What if somebody does what? Well, they're walking through there. Maybe they have to, they don't have a place to use the facilities. And what if they do this, that, or that? Really? Let's think about that critically for just 1 minute. Here's the Daily Caller covering the same thing. Arizona farmers claim migrant crossings contaminate crops, threaten American food security. Now, since most people already want to have a negative opinion of this, they're going to just automatically agree with it and not even think about what's being said critically. 2 Arizona farmers raise concerns about migrants crossing, contaminating their crops as migrants walk over their fields from the U.S.-Mexico border. Migrants, the ones who pick the crops, walking through the fields because they might step on it. And they may have been in contact with different pathogens. They have to not harvest that. That's what this guy says. If there's somebody that walks into our field and we don't know about why, we put up flags and kind of mark it out, and we don't harvest that. Now, I looked up this guy. He runs Pasquinelli Produce, and they grow fennel, broccoli, butter lettuce, cauliflower, celery, cilantro, iceberg lettuce, romaine spinach, watermelons, and wheat. Now, some of you out there are already laughing, falling out of your chair, because you've, been in a rural setting before, and you know what goes on in fields as crops grow. This isn't going to contaminate anything. I mean, any more so than the coyotes, deer, cats, rats, hawks, javelina, wild boars, skunks, squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons, possums, rabbits, snakes, mice, moles, voles, bobcats, dogs, foxes, geese, moose, bear, and porcupine are already doing every single night. They do their business wherever they want to do it. I grew up, I've not always lived in Florida, but it's the same issue down here. I grew up in northern Indiana, and around harvest time, those cornfields are full every night. You can go drive out and on those country roads, and you can just see nothing but just acres and acres of eyes of deer and raccoons and everything else out there, and they're doing their business all over everything. Leafy greens or whatever. And most good vegetables are grown in steaming piles of horse manure and or cow manure. Literally things growing right through it that are perfectly healthy and delicious for you to eat. Right through manure. And then, even after the stuff gets harvested, here's a whole bunch of onions. Just flat loaded onto a truck. You don't think this is getting contaminated? I would make the argument the grease and the lubricants and all the crap coming up off the road is way, way, way worse than anything anybody would do in a field. And then, they put it in boxes and it goes from one vehicle to another and people are touching and handling and you don't know who sneezed when or wherever or what pathogen they may or may not have. How many of you have ever bought anything from a roadside stand? You don't know who handled what, where it came from, if they were sick, they weren't sick. And then the stuff in the grocery store that's just open, anybody could walk by, and they're misting it every now and then, so it's got all sorts of water to help bacteria grow. But what do? What do? Of course, what do? You wash everything. When it's produce, whether it's leafy greens or fruits or whatever, you wash it. I mean, how simple is this? How easy is this? But Fox believes that they can put up a headline and people will forget, oh yeah, that's right. We wash things. We literally wash our food before we eat it. That's the level of psyop going on with them. Now, do you want to hear the irony of all ironies? Once the food gets to your local restaurant, there is something that can be done to the food that would make it unfit no matter what you did to serve. You would have to throw it away. What is it? Ironically speaking, all of the stuff that's required to be in kitchens to help sanitize and clean surfaces. Whether it's degreaser or oven cleaner or surface sanitizer or whatever it is, if it would get sprayed onto your food, there's no washing that stuff off. There's a salad up there and it's getting ready to be served and somebody's going by and cleaning stuff up and they accidentally spray a couple of sprays of whatever onto that salad. Guess what? Right in the trash it goes. And you start over. There's no washing it. So ironically, the things that they have in kitchens at the last point before it comes out to the person who ordered it, those things can make it unedible. But nothing that's done in the farm field, short of a nuclear attack or mustard gas or something like that, can be done to that food that isn't where you can't wash it off. Now, I would love Justice Night from Restricted Republic, Lisa Haven. We've talked about they have a brand new thing they're doing called We're Forked Up. They go into restaurants and they sample the food and they have a good time and they have a few drinks and they act like goofballs. It's really a great departure from all the serious stuff. But he used to be, if I'm not mistaken, if you're out there, Justice, correct me, I believe he was an executive chef. And so he's worked in restaurants and he knows all of the things that have to occur for food to be able to be made to be sanitary, to go out, and how you have to keep things divorced from one another. What goes on in the dish room, for example, once you're done eating, there is 1,000 times more effort put into making the plates and the silverware and the glassware reusable than there is on the other side of the kitchen. You have to, when you run the glasses through and all that stuff, anything that went front of the house, you've got to steam that stuff. I mean, literally hit it 200 degrees, and then there's sanitizing solutions. It's really incredible. And if any of that stuff gets anywhere near the food, That can contaminate it, but not the migrants that pick the food. I mean, this is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard of in my life. But I brought this up because, number one, they're actually great, both great sources. Restricted Republic, Lisa Haven's been on YouTube forever. They have a lot of great information. This is their YouTube channel, and they have a website that's just like it sounds, Weir, F-O-R-K-E-D, Weir, Forked Up. And they go out and they do this, and it's really, I've mentioned it before, it's very fun to see. And oh, by the way, in the most recent one, where they go to this place called the Fat Axe, if you want to see Lisa Haven have a When Harry Met Sally moment, which I think is kind of funny, and they actually use it here on their Instagram, go check that out. That apparently the meal was that good. But I would love to hear him talk about this idea of somehow food being inedible or unservable, because while it was still in the ground, way back where it was grown, that somebody happened to walk through or step on something, or just not possible. It's just not possible. Because there are, like I said, anybody who knows anything about growing things, I mean, even when I have my garden here in the backyard, you can't stop the birds from flying over and dropping whatever. I don't care what you do. I mean, unless you're going to grow everything that you have in some type of a plastic covered greenhouse setting. But even then, I don't know how you get things to pollinate, because you need the bees to pollinate things. I mean, there are animals doing their business all over crops, all over America, and have been for time in memoriam. Forget America, from the world. And yes, you wash the stuff off. So why would Fox think they could get away with this? Why would Fox think they could get away with doing something so stupid? Well, it's real simple. It is super simple. Let's see if I can find it here. Here it is. Psychological Operations 101. Because people already want to think something negative about a certain thing, you can add in new negative information, even though it's entirely illogical, and they won't think about it. Because what are they doing? They're feeling about it. You see, and that's what we talk about at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. People who believe they're thinking when they're really feeling. You see, it's not just whether you're thinking about something or whether you're using your emotions. It's believing that you're doing one when you're actually doing the other. That's the real psyop. That's the goal of psyops. It's not just to get you to get kicked over into your emotions. You have to get kicked over into your emotions and you be still unaware of it. Because when you would read something like this, you would then just believe it. You would just magically believe that people walking through a farm field makes the food in the farm field somehow unusable to the point that it needs to be thrown out. That's emotion right there. That is PsyOps 101. When I read this, I'm like, today's video is going to be the easiest one I've ever done. And like I said, you can read this. We don't harvest that. We red flag it if somebody walks through their field. This is how dumb Fox viewers have gotten. Truly. And like I said, look up Pasquinelli. This is the guy that was saying this. Pasquinelli. Anyway, I don't know if you heard that in the background, but I had an issue with Alexa. But anyway, I will leave that there. But check out, see if I can find the screenshot here. Check out Lisa Haven, Justice Night, the Weird Forked Up stuff, Restricted Republic, Lisa Haven News. Lots of absolutely spectacular, fantastic information. And like I said, if anybody knows them or can get a word to them, I would love to hear, especially his take. I'd like to hear both of them talk about it, but I'd like to hear his take on this because he has experience in restaurants. I mean, serious experience in real restaurants. And he could speak and illuminate everyone on the amount of effort that is taken to keep food safe and how ridiculous the idea of just somebody walking by something contaminating it is, given that, all of the problems that occur when you get large amounts of people on the front end of the house and then large amounts of people on the back end of the house, and you've got an area where you've got to keep things a certain kind of clean, but you've got to use chemicals that can contaminate the food. It's a dance. It is a very difficult dance to do. So anyway, like I said, what we're going to talk about over at the next video has to do with this. You show somebody a picture of this and they would never get the word for it. If I had started the video by saying, what's the one word that you could use to describe what you're seeing here? They wouldn't. It's like taking the lid off. What's 4 words? Well, there's one word. Apocalypse. That's what this means. And people have been using this word incorrectly for a very, very long time. So I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.